Hello everybody, welcome to this instruction video. In this video I'd like to show you how to make the Bavarian buster blanket. Now this is a stash busting blanket and it's perfect for using up odds and ends of yarn or yarn balls that you have no purpose for. I'm going to show you a photograph of the blanket because it's just too large for me to get in front of the camera. So this is what the blanket looks like from different angles, and it's really a very colorful blanket because I have been using just random colors of yarn. What do you need to make the Bavarian buster blanket? You need a lot of yarn and leftover yarn because this is a king size blanket, so you really do need quite a bit of yarn, but it's easier to make it smaller if you want to. But as such, to make the version that I made, you need about 2,600 grams of a double knit yarn. Now that comes down to about 26 balls of most DK yarns. You can use different colors, different brands, half balls, all perfect. It's more about the amount of yarn as opposed to the amount of balls that you need. And as well as the yarn to make the squares, you also need a main color yarn, and that's for the last round of your squares, to join your squares, and for just a finishing border. I used 5 balls of Scheepjes Color Crafter Velvet in the color Tailor, so that's a nice blue color. But you need about 500 grams of a main color yarn. So on most DK yarns that comes down to about 5 balls. And of course you also need a hook. I used a 4mm hook. That's a US size 6 hook. So you need a lot of yarn, and I suggest if you're using random yarns and odds and ends, and that's also exactly what I used for my blanket, take a moment to just first wind all your yarn and really make it nice and neat, because that'll really help you to keep track of your yarn and that it doesn't become one big mess in your project bag. And actually this is a very nice project to work on and off as you have yarn available. So when you have a project finished, take some of that yarn and work on your Bavarian buster blanket, and when you run out of yarn again, put the blanket away and start on a new project. And again, when you have yarn left over from that project, you add it to your Bavarian buster blanket, and that way your blanket can grow over time and you can continuously use up all your odds and ends without them having not having a purpose. So that's really nice about this blanket. And like I said, it's a really large blanket. It's a king size blanket, and it really is used a lot in my house. My kids love it. It gets used literally every single day, and I haven't regretted making this blanket a single moment. It's a large blanket, uses a lot of yarn, and but it's really a great blanket to just have around the house. I'll take you step by step through the process of making this blanket. Thank you for watching, and I hope it's a useful video for you. Round 1, any random color. Make a slip stitch, or a slip knot I should say, on your hook, and chain 6. Then close on the first chain with a slip stitch to form a ring, and in that ring we're going to be working. Start with a chain 5, and then in the ring here work a treble 4 together. So that's twice over for the treble. Insert, take off 2 loops, take off 2 loops, and then stop. Then do that again. Take off 2, take off 2, again, twice over. Take off 2, take off 2. So now you've gone 3, twice over again, because you want to treble 4. There we go. Now you've got 4 of those legs. Yarn over and take them all off. That's a treble 4 together. Chain 5 again, and then we're going to close in the ring with a slip stitch, or close, just finish off this little petal in the ring with a slip stitch. And this is like one corner unit here, so we're going to be making 3 more of these. So again, chain 5, and then again a treble 4 together, and you might want to have to really move all of this up to really make sure that you have enough room. Twice over. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 3. That's one too many. Just want 4. Treble 4 together. Yarn over, take them off. Then chain 5. Here's where the 5 comes in. 5, chain 5, and then come down and close again with this slip stitch. Okay, now you've got 2. So I'm just going to move all of this up again because you need 2 more. So do this 2 more times, and then close after your last chain 5. You're going to make a slip stitch in the ring, and then you can cut your yarn. Now done the 4 little petals, 4 little loops, chain 5, closed in the ring with the slip stitch. Then you can cut your yarn, and then you can just simply open up your working yarn, and then bring this to the back and work away. But it's easier if you work a few more rounds and then work away these yarn tails, and you just have more room. So this is round 1. Now we're ready for round 2. Round 2, I'm going to attach my yarn with a slip stitch between any 2 petals. So just through here, just grab your yarn and hold on to it. If you want to, you can actually continue with the previous color in this round. Let me just make a nice long yarn tail. Make your yarn tails long. Some people make them really short, and that's just unnecessary fuss to just give yourself a nice long tail. Then chain 2. So if you're working with the same color, you can just start with the chain 2. Here in the top of the petal, you see there, right there on the top, going to work 12 trebles. It's twice over. So right there on the top of that position, see right there on the top, work 12 trebles. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. This is quite a 5. So these are quite a few stitches. That's 5. It's going to make a nice wave around this. It's going a bit faster. I believe this is 8, but I'll count them in a moment because sometimes I tend to lose count. So let me just check where we are now. So that was, let's see if that's 12 trebles. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11. So I need one more treble here. 12. There. 12 trebles. I'm going to work a chain 2 and then make a slip stitch here in the ring. So that's actually exactly the same as a slip stitch which we attached our yarn with. So in between these next 2 petals in here, just grab your yarn and work a slip stitch. There we go. And this we're going to repeat 3 more times. So that means chain 2, and then here in the top of the next petal, it's going to be 12 trebles. And there's 1, 2, 3, and continue until you have 12, and then I'll just see you then. I have 12 trebles, then a chain 2, and then come back down here between the next two petals. My yarn just fell off the table. Between the next two petals, so that's in here, in this space, and work a slip stitch. There we go. You might just have to bring it all a bit into shape. Now you've worked two petals. Going to do the same here on the third. After the chain 2, close with a slip stitch in the center. Then again chain 2, work this petal, chain 2, and then work another slip stitch there in the middle, and then you can again cut your yarn. Round 3, have a new color yarn, again just a random color. I'm going to look at these petals here between treble number 4 and 5. So you see here's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So in that space between treble number 4 and 5, insert your hook and attach your yarn with a slip stitch. Chain 5. Now over the next 4 stitches, going to work a back post treble 4 together. So what that means is twice over, from the back to the front around the next post. Pick up your yarn, take off 2 loops, take off 2 loops. Again, twice over, next post, back to the front, take off 2, take off 2. Twice over, come to the next. And once more, twice over, comes to the next. You now have 4 stitches, 4 legs here on your loop, on your hook, 5 loops. Take them all off in one go. That was a back post treble 4 together. Chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm again going to make a slip stitch between where we finished and the next stitch. So here in this gap here, work a slip stitch. Chain 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're now going to work a back post treble 8 together, and what that means is over the next 4 stitches on this petal and the first 4 stitches on the other petal, going to work trebles and then grab them all together. So that means yarn over twice. So around the next stitch you're going to do 4 of these legs on this first petal. 2. Then here's the third little leg. And this here is number 4. Sometimes they don't really cooperate. 4. And then you're going to come to the next petal, and here that's the first one. Yarn over twice, then come here to the first one. It's 1, 2, 3, and 4. You now have a lot of loops on your hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all of them, and it's easy if you push your hook a little bit upwards. So if you have it like this, if you put it up, push it up while you pull through, because that'll help you prevent from snagging your hook or your yarn here somewhere along the way. So yarn over, and then in one swoop take them all off. And don't worry that this loop here seems to open up a lot, that top loop there, because we're going to be working in it in the next round, so don't worry about that. Then chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then between where we finished and the next stitch here, make a slip stitch. And now you're at the same point where we started. So because this slip stitch here is the same as that slip stitch that we attached the yarn with. So that means now it's again chain 5, 5, and then a treble 4, a back post treble 4 together over the next 4 stitches. And then again a chain 5, come down. Everything you've just done, this little bit here, you need to do this 3 more times on your other 3 corners. And here, after you've done this last one, you're going to close with a slip stitch in the same position where you're already at, and then leave your yarn attached. Round 4, chain 2. So we're just continuing where we were with the slip stitch. Then in this treble 4 together here in the corner, work 12 trebles. This is very similar. This is actually very similar to what we've done before. This is 2, 3, 4, 5. I believe my count is off. I'll just do my count again. Let me just check, where am I now? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I've got 9. So this is 10, and you might have to squeeze them all in there. 11, and the last treble, 12. So you see, then you go all the way around to get that nice wave there. Chain 2, and then going to make a slip stitch in this here, right here, where you already have the slip stitch from the previous rounds. You can either cover it like that, or you can try to get into that slip stitch there. Getting into that slip stitch will be the neatest thing to do. Chain 2, then you're going to come here to the middle, and in this big stitch here, work 8 trebles. 8 trebles. So I say, you need not worry if that stitch opened up. So that's 1, 2, twice over, and then complete the stitch. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this is 8. So 8 trebles, chain 2, and then again come down here to the slip stitch and work a slip stitch in there. And if you find that difficult, you can just cover that entire stitch there. Now we're actually back where we started. You see, this point is the same as that point. That means chain 2, and then here again in the corner work 12 trebles. So that's the first of 12. we're going to repeat this 12 trebles, then the chain 2, slip stitch, 8 trebles, chain 2, slip stitch, go all the way around. And here after you've finished your last trebles, chain 2, and then close here on this first slip stitch again with a slip stitch, and then you can cut your yarn. Around 5, we're actually going to be starting the repeats, and I want to show you how the repeat works, so that you can really see the rhythm of the pattern. So 2 rounds are going to be forming 1 unit, and in essence it's also actually what we've already done with rounds 3 and 4. So for round 5, what we're going to do is we're going to start here in the corner between the 4th and the 5th trebles, then chain 2, or chain 5 I should say, and work the back post corner, so the 4 back posts, then again a slip stitch, and then between here and here a wedge, going to, it's like exactly like this one, going to form a wedge there. Then we're going to come here and form one here, and then we're going to make a corner again, exactly like that little stitch there, this one here, and then again you fill in this gap, fill in this gap and make a corner. So we're going to go all the way around. So I'll show you this round, but see it as the beginning of the rhythm. So make the corner, then fill in the triangle gaps, and then make the corner, because that's what we're going to be doing in essence for this entire project. So we're attaching our yarn between trebles 4 and 5. So you see there's the first 4. Then in between, attach your yarn with a slip stitch. Chain 5, and over the next 4 stitches work a back post treble 4 together. So that's 1. So this we've done before. 2, 3, 4, and then take them all off. Chain 5, and then between the gaps where we are right now, in there, close with a slip stitch. And that's your, this is your new corner here. Right here, this is the new corner. So now we're going to start filling in this gap here. So that's chain 5, 4, 5, and then again between these 4 trebles and the next 4 trebles on the other side, going to work a back post treble 8 together. Just twice over. 1, 2, 3. So this is again the same as we've done before. 4, and then come here to the next one, and on the first 4 also work a back post trebles. The next 4 legs. And 2, 3, 4. So again, you've got a whole bunch of loops on your hook. I'm going to take them all off in one go and push up while you do so. There you go. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 5, and then come up here, right here at the top where you're currently at. So after the last completed stitch in that gap, work a slip stitch, and come on, there we go. And this idea you're going to repeat here. You're going to be repeating that as many times as needed for your next rounds. 4, 5, so it's chain 5, and then again back post treble, and I'm just going to go a little bit faster. If you go too fast, it drops off your hook. So that's 1, 2, 3 loops. And then this is number 4, and then you need 4 more on this side, and that just happens to be the corner, but if your edge is longer, this will not be the corner, of course. 2, 3, 4, and again take them all off in one go and chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and slip stitch in between the gap where you're currently at. So this is your entire edge, because this point here is now exactly the same as that point there, that slip stitch. So now you're going to do a chain 5 and then work your corner. So go all the way around. You just see it where you are right now. So you've just done that edge. Work the corner here, come down, work a corner. And when you're here, after you've lost chain 5, your slip stitch is going to be in the same position as where you started, and then leave your yarn attached for round 6, which is the second half of the repeat. Because you can see you now have half the petals here. You still need that top bit there. After round 5, you're going to be doing round 6, and round 6 is going to be the second half of the repeat. So here we're going to be filling out these corners and these loops. We're going to make the 12 trebles in the corner and the 8 trebles in the middle, and if you have a larger round, you're going to have more bits in the middle. So here's just the 2, but the next round it will be 3 of these, and then 4, and so on and so on. So here we're going to work 12 trebles in the corners, 8 trebles in the middle parts, and then of course those chain 2s in between. So just to get you started on round 6, chain 2, because this is actually exactly the same as round 4. Only there's going to be more repeats. So we need to do a treble in that corner stitch, and it's going to be the first of 12. So we start with the chain 2, and now we're going to work 12 trebles in here. And I'm going to do my best to do this a bit fast, that you don't have to sit here watching me all the time. I understand that it can be a bit boring, and then of course the more I try to be in a hurry, the less it works. That's always how it goes. It's like picking the wrong row in the supermarket. And where are we? It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is 10. 10, 11, and here we go, 12. So 12 trebles in the corner. Chain 2. And then close here on this slip stitch here with the slip stitch. So that's the corner. You're going to do that on all your corners. Chain 2, and then 8 trebles here in the center, and you're going to do that on all of these center stitches. And that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, and then I need 2 more, 7, 8. Got my yarn snag somewhere. And 8. There we go. 8 trebles, chain 2. And then again come here and close on this stitch here with a slip stitch. So that's the one here in between. See there. And now you're going to repeat this again. Chain 2 and then 8 trebles here, chain 2 and a slip stitch. And then you're at the corner, so that means chain 2 and then 12 trebles, chain 2 and a slip stitch. So this is your rhythm. 12 in the corner, 8 in the middle. Go all the way around, and when you're here you're going to do your last chain 2 and then close here with a slip stitch, and then you can again cut your yarn. I've done the first bit of the repeat here with you from round 6, but you're not going to be repeating this until round 19, and then your square looks like this. So what you're going to be doing is going to be repeating those 2 rounds until you're at round 19. And round 19, see here in the blue, that's a half round. So you're going to stop with a half round. So you're not going to complete the 12 trebles in the corner and then the 8 along the edge. So then you have 19 rounds. And also I've done this last round in what I've called a main color, because I'm going to be making a lot of these squares, and all of these last rounds I'm going to be doing in the same color yarn. And as you can see, you can make this square totally random, whatever colors you have at hand. And I've got both 2 rounds in the same color, but again, if you happen to run out of yarn and that second round is a different color, or you even connect halfway through, I mean, that's really okay. This is about getting rid of your stash and making something beautiful in the process. So I've now made one of these squares from round 1 to round 19, repeating in essence rounds 5 and 6, changing colors every second round, and finishing with a half repeat, so that's a row 5 repeat in my main color. I'm going to make 20 of these squares in total. When you have those, I'd like to show you how to make the last round, so I'm going to connect these squares. Around 20, what we're going to do in round 20 is we're just going to be working single crochets all the way around, so that we can join this square to all our other squares. So in your next loop here, work 4 singles, and can you just right away start from that slip stitch from the previous round. 2, 3, 4. You have the corner here, work in that top stitch there, work 3 singles in there. That's 1, 2, 3, and the center one of those 3, that's actually your new corner. And then rotate your work, and now in every chain space here along this edge, going to work 4 single crochets. 2, 3, 4. Then come to the next space, and here also work 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 singles. Come to the next space. You can actually skip all other loops and holes, only in the chain spaces themselves work 4 single crochets. And I'm also going to take the next loop here and continue until you're to the corner, and then in the corner you work 3 singles. And you go like that all the way around. So now I've got 4 again. And here, after you've worked your last 4, you can close on that first stitch. You can use a slip stitch or an invisible join, whichever works best for you. So when you have 20 of these squares. We're going to be joining them in the 4x5 grid pattern, and I'd just like to show you how to join them, and I'm going to be using a single crochet join for that, and I'd just like to show you how to do that. What it in essence comes down to, so we're going to be joining them like this, and that's also why I made the last 2 rounds in the same color, is that they now nicely hook up together like that. So I'm going to be working a single crochet join here. I'll be doing that in a contrasting color that you can actually see the join well, but I'd actually be doing this in the blue yarn so that you don't see the join, but for the video purposes I'll do it with the color that you can see the join. But then what we'll be doing is we'll be doing this squares, joining them 4 this way, 5 that way, and they're rather large squares at this point. As you can see, they're really large, and I really like some of the colors. It's just random colors, but somehow they just work. So when you've got your 20 squares all done, time to join them up. So to join these 2 squares with a single crochet join, and we want to single crochet join at the top of the squares. You have the right sides of both squares to the top, or if you want to have them on top of one another, you have the back sides of the squares facing. Slip knots on my hook, and then find the corner square on the first, or the corner stitch I should say, on the first square. You see in this square you have 3 single crochets in the corner, so the center one there is the corner. You can go through both loops, or you can go through just one loop. That's up to you. I'm going to go through both loops, and then find the exact same stitch on the other square. So that's that stitch there. That's the center stitch of the 3, and then grab that loop, those loops, and then work a single crochet through those, and then come to the next stitch on both squares. I'm taking all 4 loops, but you could also choose here just to take 2 loops, and that's it. Work a single crochet through every stitch until you get to the other side. You can see here how you're getting a single crochet join on top of the fabric. So continue, work 1 stitch at a time through both squares with a single crochet join, and then I'll just show you on the other side how to connect the next 2 squares. Now let's say you've done the entire join, so I've now just connected it here, but let's say you've done the entire join and your last stitch there is the corner stitch on both squares. Okay, and then it really is quite simple in the sense that you take your next 2 squares, which is that square there and this square here, and now you're going to continue by just moving over to the next square. So finding the corner stitch here. If it's a chain 2, then that's of course much easier, but this time it happens to be a single crochet. 1, 2, that's the center stitch there, and again, and then just continue. Just continue in exactly the same way, 1 stitch at a time, as though nothing has happened. So 1 long join, and then when you get to the other side here and you want to join 2 more squares, you do exactly the same. You just put them next to it and then just continue on. So you see here that join is there on top of the fabric. When you come the other way, you're going to work your single crochets in this direction, and then when you come here, it might be easier to just do a chain 1 to jump over, like it's like a little bridge. That chain 1 is in a little bridge, and then again just continue on this side as though nothing has happened. So single crochet joins on top of the fabric really is relatively easy. for the corner of the blanket, you're going to start in any corner of your stitch of your blanket. You'll have 4 of them, of course. You're going to start, see here are 3 single crochets in the corner. You're going to start in the second one. You're going to start in that stitch and attach your yarn with a slip stitch. Of course, this border as such is optional. I mean, if your blanket is large enough and you don't have enough yarn, I mean, just let it go. But if you want to, you can work the border along with me. Attach in that corner stitch, chain 1, and then in that stitch, same stitch, work 3 single crochets. It's 1, 2, 3 single crochets in the corner. Then along the edge, until you're to the other side, work a single crochet on every stitch. And this is going to be quite a few stitches, so take your time on this. And then on every stitch you work a single crochet. And when you get to the next corner of the blanket, you're going to do the same as you did here. So in the center stitch, so you will have those 3 stitches on your next corner as well. For example, here again you have 3 single crochets, see the 1, 2, 3. Then take that center one and work 3 single crochets in that stitch. So it's 1 single crochet in every stitch, and in your corner stitch you work 3 singles. And go all the way around, and when you come back here, after you've worked your last single, close on the first stitch with a slip stitch, and then you'll do round 2 of the border. Round 2 of the border, you're currently in the first stitch of the previous round with a slip stitch. Then move 1 stitch, slip stitch into the next stitch. This will be the corner stitch. This is the center stitch of the 3 single crochets. Now it's ready to start round 2. Chain 2. Again, this does not count as a stitch. And then in that position where you are right now, work 5 half doubles. So that you nicely fill out the corner. So 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can see how it nicely fills out the corner. So in every corner you're going to work 5 half doubles. Then for the straight edge, work 1 half double on every stitch. That's 1. And this is going to be hundreds of stitches to get yourself all the way around. Work a half double on every stitch. And when you get to the corner stitch, which is going to be the center of those 3 single crochet stitches, so when you get here, for example, you see here you have the corner, 3 single crochets. Then in that center stitch, that's this stitch, work again 5 half doubles. So it's 1 half double on every stitch, and in your corner stitch you work 5. Go all the way around, and you get here to the beginning, you can close with a slip stitch, or if you prefer you could also do an invisible join there, whichever is you like best. So go all the way around and close on your first stitch. And when you're all the way around, your blanket is finished. It brings us also to the end of this instruction video. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon for a new project.